Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Occupational Therapy for Life. I was trying to hide my light back there. You see, I'm trying to give you guys good lighting. Anyway, so disclaimer, I'm not your therapist. If you have an emergency, you have to call 911 and always talk to your primary care provider for anything related to health, because they would have more information to work with, and plus you could probably get better care. Oh yeah, like and subscribe because that's what we do now. So we're gonna continue from our last episode. Last episode we talked about Occupational Therapy Framework, and as I said, framework is basically the manual for occupational therapists. Just like you have a manual for a car, it tells you what to do, how to fix problems, and it guides you. So Occupational Therapy Framework, we're up to the 4th edition. And so there's domain and process. Domain is basically what area that we're looking at in terms of occupation. And process is how we go about it, which involves evaluation, intervention, and outcomes. So we're still in the domain part. The previous video we covered occupation and context. So today we're going to cover performance pattern and performance skills. So here we go. Performance skills. I'm going to start with that first. Basically, it's the way that you are doing something. So it's observable, so we can see it. So for example, like I'm gonna use my favorite example, driving a manual car, stick shift. I love stick shift cars. I just feel like driving stick shift cars, you basically are in control of the car. It's hard to learn, but I always wanted to drive stick shift cars because I was like, man, like those James Bond movies, like this guy is able to drive anything, helicopter. I'm like, Jesus, we don't have time to learn all these things. So I want to drive stick shift cars because for that purpose, I didn't want to be in a situation where there's a car available and I couldn't drive it. God forbid there's an emergency. So stick shift cars, if you don't know it, you got to use both hands and both feet. It's hard at first because once you put the car in gear, if you don't properly balance the gas and the release of the clutch, it will shake you and then shut down. So first gear was the biggest problem because first gear required more power to move the car, and God forbid you're on the hill, it's gonna roll back and you're like, oh, why is this car rolling back? And then you're afraid of hitting people, and the embarrassment, car shaking you, shutting down. It's terrible. But once you get the hang of it, you are a master. So now my performance skill, which you can observe, now I can drive this car while eating, cupcakes. Disclaimer, I don't actually do that, and don't do that yourself. But anyway, so performance skill is observable. We can see it. Another example is sometimes you might see somebody walking, you're like, man, they have a limp. Although the walking is functional, but because there's a limp, we as therapists said there's something wrong. Maybe this person has arthritis. Maybe this person had a new joint replaced and they're still settling in. So the way they move, the stride, it doesn't flow in such a way to not make you think that something's not wrong. So usually when something flow, it's a smooth rhythm, So you see my head? So we therapists are like, man, this person had an issue or has an issue. So for example, people like all the time, their knees hurt, their hip hurts on one side. And you're like, oh, what's wrong with your hip? Oh, my arthritis is acting up. We're like, oh, okay. You ever thought about getting your knee replaced? Oh, no, I'm not going to do that. That's painful. Are you crazy? So they don't want to hear that. Yeah, for good reason, because, who wants to go into surgery? That stuff is painful. The recovery process is expensive. You got to call out of work and may not have the help. So it's not an easy choice. But here's what happens when you don't do what you got to do. Over time, your other side gets bad because it's bearing more weight than it's supposed to. So everything's supposed to be balanced in life, like the yang. I forgot the other thing. Yang, whatever. I need to edit this video. So you putting more weight on one side. So because of that, you're adding more pressure to your joint and because of that, your knees might start hurting on that side, and next thing you know, you need to replace the other side too. So the sooner you get things taken care of on the side that is actually hurting, the better you are off, because wherever you're reducing weight or load, you're adding it somewhere else. So it's not balanced, because each part of your body is supposed to bear equal weights over time. So that's performance skills. So performance skill is observable, whereas performance patterns are more like your habits, your routines, and how you do things, lifestyles. It's impacted by culture. Like if you're a religious person, you do things a certain way. You might pray at a certain time. Your patterns may involve groups of people, individuals, what time you do your homework, or if you don't do your homework on time, how does that impact your life? Or if you don't wake up early on time, your daily routine patterns of waking up at 8 o'clock to go to school, you might miss the bus. Now, how does that provide stresses in your life? So as an occupational therapist, we look at your performance skill and we look at your performance patterns, and we are determining if there's a maladaptive behavior. So maladaptive is like saying mal, which is like bad, and it's a bad way of adapting to do things. So we're trying to figure out, how does this maladaptive behavior impact your life? So because of that, we are able to perhaps provide intervention to help give you a life that is, less stressful. And so that's the difference between overall. Performance skills is observable. It's more about motor processing and things like that. And skill acquisition patterns has more involved. It considers time. It considers a culture. It considers where you are, places, how you do things, So these are the things that we look at. For example, performance patterns, we'll look at, how you cook, and what are you putting, if you follow the right ingredients and so forth. If you miss something, that could be a problem. So these are the things that we look at as occupational therapists. All right, this is it for now. People, thank you for your support. Like and subscribe. You did check me out, like and subscribe, right? I'm like a pro at that now. Until the next video, we will talk. Goodbye and have a good day.